So have you guys ever heard of that old Greek paradox where you replace a part of a ship part by part until every part is replaced, and with all those old parts you reassemble it into another ship, and the question becomes, which is the original ship? And that's kind of what happened with this rig right here. So in RC, we replace lots of parts, whether it's upgrades or we're fixing it, and we end up with a lot of junk parts, and most people, sane people, would just throw those old parts away. It's broken, it's junk, so it goes in the trash. Or some people like me end up hoarding it and putting it in a box, shoving it away somewhere, because you never know when you're gonna use it again. So that's what ended up happening with a lot of my CC01s. I absolutely adore the CC01 chassis. It is a very special platform for me because it is the platform that really kept that little pinky toe in the door for RC to help me kind of re-enter it eventually while I was kind of going through a cool guy phase in high school. So I ended up accumulating a lot of CC01s over the years, and so I had a lot of parts left over. And I was looking in my closet one day and realized it's taking up so much space. I have so many parts, it's a mess, but I really don't want to throw these parts away, so what do I do with them? And this is the result. What I ended up doing is shoving all those things together, enough super glue and self-tapping screws and cutting and whatever, and here we go. You end up with a cool little RC car. So this is my Tamiya CC01 Junkyard Beetle build, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. So like I said, this is a fully junkyard build of a CC01 Beetle. All the parts are just from random things that I just shoved together, and a lot of stuff that happened in this truck just happened by chance, just by happenstance, just because I was shoving stuff together and I was like, oh, that fits, oh, that looks okay. And so I just ended up shoving all them together. And so I originally did make a video about this thing when I originally put it together. I have made some upgrades and changes to it, as you can see. But I did originally make a video about it before on my channel, so if you guys want to see what it looked like in its raw form, you can check that out. But I added some finishing touches to it finally, and I'm absolutely in love with this this little bug. I think it looks cool, it drives decently, and I'm just overall very, very happy and actually quite proud of it. So let's talk about this thing, talk about the exterior, the interior, and then final thoughts, and then to end, I have a challenge for some of you. So let's talk about my Junkyard CC01. So starting with the exterior, you can see obviously it's a Beetle. This Beetle body was originally from my Monster Beetle that I had. I ended up converting that into a mud blaster, so I had this Beetle body left over. I ran this originally on my Sand Scorcher for a while before the Sand Scorcher body was painted, and then I went back into the junk drawer. So it came back out to fit on this CC01 build, and the reason that I made it a Beetle is also just completely by coincidence. I'll talk about that when we talk about the chassis. But let's look at it next to the Sand Scorcher. So pretty cool. I also have a trailer hitch added to this thing, so I can tow my Sand Scorcher with my Sand Scorcher. So I think that would look really cool. And the tow hitch literally is just a servo horn from one of my G-Made kits. It's made out of really dense plastic, so I decided to just throw that on there, little tow hitch there, which is cool. And then the body I just painted with just some regular spray paint real quick. Try to do kind of like an inverted view, an inverted color scheme of the or opposite color scheme of like my Sand Scorcher. So if you saw my Sand Scorcher was teal, glossy teal with white, whereas this is flat teal with black. So nice little contrast, I think, which looks nice. And then the flat paint also made it really easy to paint and also gives it a more of a junkyard look. After I painted teal, I did also kind of overspray some black back on it to make it look grimy and dirty. All the little dents and stuff are on there from when I originally built it. Some of it looked kind of over exaggerated and cheap and looks clearly like melted plastic, but it is what it is. And when it's rolling by, it just, I guess, kind of looks like dents, so whatever. The driver figure is for the Monster Beetle body that I never used, so I finally painted that up. I used the axial driver head instead, so you get that full helmet. So I added that in there. The mirrors for it are off of a RC4L drive Trailfinder 2 body. Had those laying around, so I just super glued those on there. Kind of fogged up the headlights using a knife to make it look old and grimy. And the light pods here as well, flat black, so it doesn't stand out and doesn't look like cheap plastic. I also had to paint a lot of the chassis parts that are exposed flat black, so it kind of goes all well together and doesn't stand out and look like plastic. The roof rack and the light bar here were added when I originally built it, so if you guys want to see more about that, see the original video for this. And because the rear of the chassis kind of looked a little awkward because it just had a big huge block on the back and nothing really going on back here, I decided to add a little spare tire to kind of hide all that and also give it a kind of a custom off-roader look. And I know some people are saying that, oh, but an engine's supposed to go back there because it's a Beetle, so why is there a spare tire attached to it? Well, the lore I'm kind of going with this truck is because it is a junkyard build. I'm gonna say the body was found in the junkyard, chassis was a junkyard pickup truck, and you just put the Beetle body on the pickup truck. So canonically, if there's a lore to my collection, this would be a front engine vehicle. So it's the spare tire can go on there. It's fine, and I think it looks cool. When I had made my Monster Beetle originally, I added this custom rear window backlight back here. Out of some scrap Lexan, out of some Proline body. And I drilled an extra hole through there so I could stick this kind of Beetle style, like Baja Beetle style antenna on the back. A little extra little touch. Added the Mad Van sticker on the back there, which I thought just looked cool, and also kind of worked out for this build also because in Mexico, the Beetle is known as the Vocho. So if you call it the Mad Vocho, MV still works out, so that's cool. Little tally here going on for whatever. I wrote my surname in Chinese character over here, kind of scratched it into the body, which I think looks cool. Also, I don't know how many times I said cool in this video, but I don't know, take a shot every time I said cool. Make a drinking game out of it or something. On this side, I added a little jerry can, also had laying around. Just painted it up to look a little grimy and oily. Just shove that on there. And then this door, I decided to paint it just flat black without any overspray or anything on it to kind of make it look like it was a replacement door that was quickly primered. And unfortunately for this guy, he replaced the door, but immediately also just got dented again. So shit happens, I guess. Drill some holes for the body mounts. Nothing else really too much going on with this thing. Let's take a look underneath. You can see I painted the wire black so it doesn't show through on the windows. Chassis has seen a lot of work. You can see all the fenders are cut and trimmed to fit the body. Added a heatsink because it is running the 55 turn motor, but the gearing on the CC01 is still very high, so I thought I would help it out a little bit with the little heatsink. 25 kg Amazon servo with the servo horn. Also wedged some weights back here between the chassis and the servo so it doesn't flex. Also, you can see a lot of weights added all around the chassis to give it a lot more weight, so the suspension cycles a little bit more realistically. The ESC was changed to a G-made one because the old Hobby Wing one that I got from an Axial, well, it was kind of failing, so I just threw that on there. And if you guys know the CC01 chassis, you can see I have a hump pack here, and usually the CC01 can't use a hump pack because of the design of the battery tray and stuff. but I decided to remove the top part here where the ESC and the electronics tray goes, and modify the battery tray a little bit. Well, not modify the battery tray, modify the battery mount a little bit to get me to fit a 7-cell in here, so I can get lipo-like power without using a lipo. This thing's probably gonna see water. Also, you can't really find a lipo battery with large capacities that would fit in this chassis. So this is kind of what I decided to go with. The end cap here is a zip tie, reusable zip tie, and that's purely because I couldn't find another end cap here, but also because the way the end cap is designed, if the battery is any larger than a 3000 milliamp hour 6-cell nickel metal hydride battery pack, the battery end cap actually won't fit anyway. So this worked out. Also, over on this side, I made a custom battery strap here using the upper link for the rear, so you can see that piece. I used that up here with a little screw with a body clip, so I can take the 7-cell battery out. And it works very well, very easy to use. The body clip keeps everything nice and in place. And that's a little shoulder screw so I can fit the body clip over it. So nothing too terribly interesting that's gone with, well, not interesting, too terribly like custom that's gone on with this. All of it's literally just junk parts. This part, like I said, is a upper link part. That's literally just a servo horn. The trailer hitch, again, is a servo horn. This upgrade long extension stroke thing in the back I also had laying around, so threw that on. And the shocks are just also in the junk drawer, so threw those on. Everything is just thrown on here. Skid plate wouldn't fit on my CC02. This is a CC02 skid plate, but I just bent it up for my CC01, and that looks nice, I think. But yeah, very random little build, but I think it turned out very nicely, and even though it's supposed to be a little junkyard build, this has quickly become one of my favorite builds and one of my favorite trucks in my collection. So with that all said, let's take it outside, see how it kind of runs around a little bit, and then I have a challenge for one of my YouTube friends in the RC hobby. So as you guys saw it running around. It looks pretty good. It tows the trailer really well. I'm very happy with it. Steering, of course, could use a little bit of work because it is a CC01. But overall, it did its job. It works just fine for now. And finally, in the video, I have a challenge from one of my YouTube friends, specifically Rex's RC. I love watching his content, and he does a lot of cool builds himself. And I thought it would be cool to challenge him to build a car out of spare parts and just junkyard parts and whatever parts you could find around the house. Build a new car with it. The only rules are you can't spend money on any parts other than like paint and like any like accessory parts, but the accessory parts you can't spend more than $20 on. This has to be a less than $30 build, so kind of get the gear rolling with that. So it's something to think about. If he ends up taking me up on the challenge, that'll be a cool build for him and cool video from him, so I'd really enjoy watching that. Even if not, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, enjoyed checking out this truck, and as always, have fun with RC.